From the West Campus Times, I'm Owen Naqica, and this is the elections. The class of 2027 has a history of having interesting election lineups, from a majority of officers not seeking re-election to officers running against each other. If the class decides, there could be 3 new officers and 1 incumbent officer.
Because you're trying to offer a different opportunity. If it was just one person going for one position or one person going over and over again, then it wouldn't leave much for the members or the people of class 2027 much choice. And giving that opportunity of choice, an opportunity to say, as the class 2027, do we want to re-elect someone with the experience, or do we want to give the opportunity to someone else to take the reins?
Diana Camacho is a sophomore running for secretary for her class, and she has a history with leader positions in her past education, extracurriculars, and even though she is not a current officer, she works to help her class during rallies, even being spotted at the forefront of her class guiding them during chant. She will face incumbent officer Mahi Fnu, the current class of 2027 treasurer, in the election on May 23rd for a new secretary for the class, a position vacated by Sonia Pokral. In this interview, Diana talks about her goals, her campaign, her platform, and her class. This is my phone interview with Diana Camacho, candidate for class of 2027 secretary. My first one will be, what inspired you to run for class secretary?
I think what inspired me to become class secretary would be the amount of spirit and community ASB has. From a student point of view, coming into West Campus, it was something that was shown all around that ASB members, when they were giving us a tour, they go, oh yeah, if you don't participate, like rallies is a big thing here. If you don't participate, like you're the odd one out. And I thought it was really inspiring how they all come together as students to make this a reality. I know even myself when I was younger, I know something that I admit is that myself when I was younger, I was running for ASB as soon as I could. Since third grade, I know myself. Like my sister has seen me through the entire time. Third
Mm-hmm.
grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, and on. Going, I'm gonna run for ASB. I want to make change or I want to add something if I could. Because why would I not want to make it better or my community better than it is already? There's always something positive that can be made. So I think that passion has been through me. My I've been running for ASB for since third grade. Either it's appointed position or just a position as like a member, or I've even ran for president. I ran for freshman year and when I was in middle school in eighth grade. Not all the time. I have not succeeded
Yeah.
all of these times, but I've gone through and through to run it again and again, and I probably will run again and again because I'm dedicated to my cause. I'm dedicated to contribute to my community and the spirit I've seen at West Campus so far.
Mm-hmm. And you talked a little about kind of how you've always been running for, ASB and student government roles. So, have you held any kind of leadership or organizational roles in the past, like at your past schools?
So at my older school, I wasn't necessarily the talk of the town,
Yeah.
which isn't a bad thing. I was just a regular student. So sadly, I was not able to get as many, I wasn't able to win most of these things. But what I was able to do in my last year of um, middle school, I was able to continue and become um, like a member of ASB. But most of my leadership roles were more towards clubs throughout my school, my education.
Mm-hmm.
I was the vice president of Club Colibri, which was a um, organization for girls at my school to come together and have pride of being just women, just so they could feel better within ourselves as people and feel like ourselves, just as children too. And I've also had different organizations as people in other clubs, but more importantly, I've had leadership roles in other organizations, not only in my school, but is in other stuff.
Yeah.
Now, when I'm elaborating, I'm saying in Breakthrough Sacramento, I was a student who led for a art director. As I was the head art director and I've made plenty of posters before. I've led the art department for a few weeks and you know, I had a great time there, which is why I'm really excited to try and explore this leadership through ASB and the creative part of rallies.
Mm. Why do you believe that you're the best candidate for this role?
If I'm being completely honest, I don't think I'm the best in the entire, like, in my fullest capacity, I don't think anyone would be the entirely best for this role. At least I don't think I would fare up entirely. I think there's always room for change, always room to be better. So I don't think how I am right now is the best, but I think I will be able to lead up and to build to be the best at my position. I think that me thinking I'm the best would be harmful and to my position, and I think being open to change is what would make me a good candidate. And I think me being a good candidate, I think I myself am a good candidate for this role because I'm open to change and I'm dedicated to my role. I'm very passionate about ASB and I always will be, always have been. And I think what makes me a good candidate for this position is my willing to change, my passion, my dedication, and just wanting to be and connect with my community.
I asked you a question and you kind of gave a response about being the art director and how you kind of managed projects with that. Can you give an example of when you successfully managed a project or an event?
So, as an art director, what we mainly did was we would send in, most teachers would send in requests for posters that they needed because at Breakthrough Sacramento, the company I was working for the summer, they would have the teachers send in requests, and every Friday they would have events where they would have these posters and use them, right?
Yes.
So what we did is we had to get these people to give these requests, make sure we had them completely filled. There weren't mainly like any big events that we had to do, or at least at the time I was working there. But what I at least I try to do to help encourage our workflow would be something that wasn't there previously either. I've heard from many different I before I even took the role, I remember speaking to many of the people who had worked there last year and would volunteer there last year and have spoken and saying, we haven't gone this yet, we haven't gone this yet. And I chose to try and fix that. I brought in a different type of binder, make sure I'm organizing everything completely. And when these teachers sent in their things, I make sure to encourage to I had a different organizational system, which
Mm-hmm.
I tried to encourage the teachers to use, where if we had something done on time, they usually would have the teachers pick it up, but most of these teachers, they were still in their classes. So I had a system where I would have the binder, then we would check after 3 steps. After we had someone, I would manage groups, different committees, to go onto one poster, a different one. Even on my own time, I would organize different ones on which have been already done or not done. And I would say, okay, one person, that's their community for making the posters. We already know it's gonna get done. Second step, we get it done, and then the third step, we get it delivered. It was just more useful for getting stuff in and out of the room, and it definitely relieved the stress of the people who were already working there. There weren't many things, but just the small things is what matters to
Mm-hmm.
improve. You know, these people, they want to have as much spirit, and how are they going to get as much spirit when they're stressed about their posters?
Right. And as secretary, you are dealing with organization and kind of staying on top of things and anything that the president and the vice president need kind of to be done or just logged in, especially with food fairs and things like that. So, for your organization skills, how do you stay organized when handling multiple tasks or deadlines?
So for myself personally, I know sometimes I can get a bit mismanaged. So that's why I've been building habits throughout the years to make sure I've gotten things on time. And also when it comes to a lot of different responsibilities, you have to get these things done on time. So myself, I've done different things. I'm probably gonna use the resources that are already given to me. I myself have made a habit of using my journal, the planner that the school has offered us. I've been writing it almost daily to make sure I have all my things done. I usually have a checklist on my phone to see a daily checklist, and I update it almost every day to say, oh, what has been done or what needs to be done by which date. I know myself, my parents, especially when it comes to getting to different places, me and my sister have to have different organizational skills.
Yeah.
Me and my sister being twins and my parents having to drive us everywhere, they've had us advocate for ourselves and make sure we get things done by saying, and they tell us, hey, you need to get a calendar thing, a calendar to set up a time to make sure that I remember or that they remember to drive us for different places. So I would use my calendar, my checklist, my planner, anything to try to motivate me and others to keep organized for these important events.
The sophomores have been kind of, I wouldn't say that they've been lacking, but there's definitely been a curve that they haven't been able to meet yet necessarily.
Mhm.
So, kind of what are your plans on getting your class more involved in, school events and things like that, such as the rally?
So I myself, as a student, I'm very much trying to get involved with rallies, and I would every time there's a rally coming up, I know I myself would ask. I've had this conversation many times of saying, "Hey, what do you think of the rally? Are you gonna come to Rally Dex? If not, why not?" And I think I am even gonna say this in my speech, where I bring up that sometimes it's logistics, and sometimes it's because they don't know what to do. Many students, when they want to participate, and I've even seen like some of my friends even, they don't want to participate not because they don't want to, but because they feel like they can't. Some people feel like they don't have the skills. They say, "Oh, I can't draw. Oh, I can't paint. Oh, I can't do this." But I think the thing that I'm again eventually going to say in my speech is that there are multiple different ways to contribute. There are different ways where you can organize, you can wrap boxes, you can always get things from the ASB room. There's always a need for someone, whether they're just to be there. And I think also something that people forget is that people can get tired when they're drawing and they're painting. Having people there just to be spirit is what motivates people to continue going. And a way I would help or try to help people to make sure that they remain spirited is by reminding them that there's a community still uh, at Rally Decks. Try to encourage people and their friend groups to come. And I think something that I think would really help is having like a checklist. I know it's a bit much, but a checklist every day of what we're doing at Rally Decks so people can stay organized, or having committees I think are really helpful. When people they get there and they're bewildered, they don't know what to do, what to make of it, and they say, I don't know who to talk to. Well, having someone who they can contact as a part of committee, maybe they don't like drawing committee, they could go to someone else who knows that they can't draw either, and then they can do the job that's most fitted for them. They can find the spirit within that committee. So having a committee, having a checklist, and I think reminding students that there's positivity at Rally Decks would really help sophomores continue and use their spirit in a positive way.
This next question I have for you kind of ties to that same, stigma of people not wanting to come to rally decks. And, you brought up the idea of different committees for people to be, um, more involved with their class. So with this current kind of administration has tried to implement committees, how will you increase turnout with committees and make people feel kind of, accomplished when they join a committee?
I think when it comes to committees, I've been in a few committees for sure. Either, at West Campus or also a different at my older schools. And I think the main thing that sets up a committee to not fail but not do so well as in productivity is when, again, not being organized or not being able to see what the committee's effort is trying to do can really unmotivate people. I've seen this in other clubs as well, where they have a great beginning, but they start to fail because they don't have an organized plan throughout. So I think setting people, not only that one person in charge of the committee, but having different people, having different points of leadership in that committee so they know exactly who to ask, to have a deadline on specific things, because after you meet that deadline, you kind of feel accomplished in a certain thing. And I think different roles of participation. I know if we had a type of a drawing committee, if we had a wrapping boxes, or we had bleachers, I think having a thing where we can bring, or even chant, where we can invite people to do things that they wouldn't ordinarily do as a student would be great. Having a chant committee where they come up with the chants and then they can present it if they wanted to in front of everyone would be, I'm not sure how the rules are on it, but would be great. Having someone where they do all the box designs or they do the 3D object and then they can help bring it to the bleachers and set it up. Or if they have something like specific, I think it could be very accomplishing and like checking off that box, going, hey, we did this. Having being organized, I think, is what really sets a community apart from failing and succeeding. If I'm being completely honest and truthful, I'm a tad bit scared of going against someone who's very experienced, but I don't think it's necessarily bad. I think it's good to be scared and good to do something that you want to do because you're trying to offer a different opportunity. If it was just one person going for one position or one person going over and over again, then it wouldn't lead much for the members or the people of class 2027 much choice. And giving that opportunity of choice and opportunity to say, as the class 2027, do we want to re-elect someone with the experience, or do we want to give the opportunity to someone else to take the reins? Um, I'm very much scared, but I think I have a lot to offer. I think and I hope that the people will be able to see that I'm very passionate about ASB and hope to do a lot of good and have a lot of drive to continue. And I hope people will begin to see that. But I think new opportunity and new people can give different perspectives.
Mhm.
So definitely going against someone who has had a lot of experience is a bit hard, but I've had a lot of experience myself with different opportunities, so there will definitely not be a lack of experience on my part. And I'm hoping to see a good um, opportunity to challenge myself.
All right, thank you, Diana. Is there anything else that you'd like to say?
I think, like, as a last statement, I'd like to say, to the class of 2027, that I'm very passionate. Like I said in my other questions, I'm very passionate, I'm very driven, and I'm a hard worker. So hopefully you've seen my efforts throughout the year to continue with ASB, and I hope to garner a lot of different relationships with everyone. So if there's anything, believe me, you can ask me, you can come up to me, and I hope that, you know, you vote for me because I would be delightful. I would be delighted to work in ASB. And that's all.